Have you ever had one of those days where you just don't feel like yourself, you're a little off, you're tired, something's not quite right? Well, today, we're going to deconstruct a story from a Hindi horror podcast that takes that feeling and pushes it to its most terrifying, absolute extreme. See, this isn't your typical story about a haunted house. It's about a haunted identity, a complete nightmare that all began with one single, chilling thought.
That's the voice of Aditya, our protagonist. He's a software engineer who thought he had just moved into his dream apartment. And that one sentence, wow, it just sets the stage perfectly, doesn't it? The horror here isn't unfolding in some creepy old mansion. Nope. It's happening in a brand new, modern high-rise building. A place he chose. A place that was supposed to be his safe haven.
So, our story kicks off with this section, an unexplained unease. This is where Aditya's seemingly perfect new life starts to unravel, and it all begins with something feeling deeply wrong inside his own body.
So let's meet our guy, Aditya. He's got a great job, he's in Pune, he moves into this beautiful apartment in a really nice modern building. On the surface, everything is perfect, and that's what makes this so scary. The setting is deliberately normal, safe. It's the absolute last place you'd ever expect this kind of cosmic horror to be hiding.
This is where the horror starts to creep in, and it's so clever because it starts physically. It's not some ghost slamming doors, it's his own body betraying him. He's exhausted all the time, his body aches like he's been running marathons in his sleep. And then, these other signs start to appear. The faint red mark on his cheek is weird for sure, but waking up with the taste of dirt in your mouth when you live on the 11th floor, that's not just weird. That is fundamentally deeply wrong.
You know, Aditya does what any of us would do. He goes through the logical checklist, he sees doctors, he buys a new mattress, he tries to de-stress, but nothing, absolutely nothing works. So he's backed into a corner where he has to consider an insane question. Is somebody, or something, getting into his locked bedroom while he's asleep? And that terrifying thought leads him to the only thing he can do, set up a camera and watch himself sleep.
And this is where things go from just being weird to being pure terror. Section 2. The truth on camera. Technology is about to show him something that his mind can barely handle.
Okay, just let's walk through this timeline together. At 2:13 in the morning, a long, thin, human-like hand comes out from under his bed. Then this skeletal, humanoid thing crawls out and just stands there watching him. It gets close and smells his breath. That detail is so violating. And remember the taste of dirt? Well, the creature drinks his water and then spits it back into the jug. Then it starts acting human. It smells his clothes, it uses his comb, and the grand finale of this home movie from hell, it spots the camera, gives his cold, cruel smile, and then climbs the wall like a gecko up into a loft space. Can you even imagine that feeling? You've just watched this footage, your heart is pounding out of your chest, and you're still sitting in the exact same room. Aditya forces himself to look up at that loft, and the doors open a crack, and in the darkness, he sees two little shining eyes looking right back at him. The monster isn't gone. It's been up there the whole time. He grabs his keys, his phone, and just runs for his life.
So Aditya escapes, but the horror is far from over. What he sees next on the live camera feed reveals the creature's true, terrifying purpose. He's not just dealing with some monster. He's dealing with my doppelganger, my hunter.
Let's break down this terrifyingly methodical process. Step 1 is collection. Aditya checks the loft cam and sees a nest made of his own discarded hair, his nail clippings, his used tissues. The creature has been collecting his DNA. Step 2, mimicry. It's found his personal diary and has been reading it, absorbing his life, his memories. And step 3, the absolute most horrific part, transformation. Aditya watches live on his phone as this thing literally molds its own body like clay, reshaping its face into a perfect copy of his, even getting the tiny mole on his cheek right. And this right here, this just lays out the whole horrifying situation. You've got the real Aditya, human, scared, confused, getting weaker by the day. And then you have the imposter. It looks like him, but it's something else entirely. It has inhuman speed and strength, and it is cold, calculating, and absolutely determined. It's not a copy, it's an upgrade, a replacement. Well, this has to lead somewhere, right? It all builds to this inevitable, violent climax. Section 4, Confrontation and Defeat. This is where Aditya makes the faithful decision to go back and fight for his life. Thankfully, Aditya isn't alone. He calls his best friend Amit, shows him the video footage, and together they decide to go back. Their weapon of choice? A single hockey stick. You have to admire the courage. But really, it's just a desperate, maybe even foolish attempt to face something they just can't possibly understand.
And this is where the creature proves how smart it is. This is just chilling. It doesn't just rely on brute force. No, it plays mind games. It uses Aditya's most private, secret thoughts, stolen right from his diary, to sow seeds of doubt and paranoia between these two friends, literally seconds before it attacks.
The fight, if you can even call it that, is brutal and it is short. The doppelganger, now wearing a security guard's uniform it must have stolen, attacks them with an axe. It moves with impossible speed, easily dodging a full swing from the hockey stick. It lifts a full-grown man, Amit, off the ground with one hand and throws Aditya through a glass table. This is not a fair fight. It's an absolute slaughter.
But the physical beatdown wasn't even the end game. Now we get to the final, and honestly, the most brilliant and devastating part of the whole plan, the identity switch. The final theft.
So, Amit had managed to call the police earlier, and now they're arriving. The creature hears the sirens, and it does something absolutely genius. In a split second, it stops being a monster, and it becomes the perfect victim. Its entire strategy shifts from physical violence to psychological manipulation.
I mean, just look at this. Put yourself in the cop's shoes. The doppelganger slaps its own face to create marks, it rips its shirt, and then it starts crying for help. The police walk in and see this terrified, innocent man, and then they see the real Aditya, dazed, bleeding, holding the axe the creature forced into his hand, and ranting and raving about a monster that looks exactly like him. I mean, come on, who are you going to believe? And here it is, the checkmate. The one piece of evidence, the only thing in the world that could prove Aditya's insane story, the night vision cameras. They're gone. The doppelganger was smart enough to get rid of them. Without that proof, Aditya's story isn't a terrifying truth. It's just the ramblings of a violent madman. And so, the system does what systems do. It finds a nice, neat, rational box to put this impossible story into. Aditya is officially diagnosed with schizophrenia. As far as the world is concerned, he had a psychotic break and tried to kill his best friend. He's locked away, and his identity is medically and legally erased.
Sometime later, the doppelganger actually visits Aditya in the mental institution. It's living his life, but better. It got a promotion, it married Amit's girlfriend, it's thriving. And then it delivers this final, cruel, twisted little knife. It hasn't just copied Aditya, it's improved on him. It even learned to like coffee, something the real Aditya always hated.
After 18 long months, Aditya is released. But who is he now? He has no job, no friends, no apartment, no name. The creature won. It won, completely. It didn't just kill him, it stole his entire existence and left the real Aditya to just wander the world, a ghost with a still beating heart.
And the story just leaves us with that one final unsettling question. It taps right into that primal fear we all have that we're not quite as secure as we think we are, that the person in the mirror isn't quite right, and that maybe, just maybe, something is waiting, patiently, under the bed, to take our place.